Hey guys, this is episode 1 of the Outlet Pass podcast. I'm joined by my friend Jason.
Hey guys.
We have been Flames fans for a while. This is kind of just a podcast to talk about what I want to talk about, and Jason's here to help me out with that. Mostly going to talk about the Flames and hockey, maybe a bit of football in there, maybe just some other stuff too, because again, this is the outlet pass, and what that means is the outlet pass. In football, it's kind of that short. Oh, the running backs just kind of like at a quick outlet. You don't have somewhere else to go with something. This is something you don't always have people to talk to about.
Not sports
Hockey.
specific.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be sports
Not
specific,
like we're hockey focused, Flames focused, but we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff.
but that's because that's what I like to talk about. I like to talk about hockey and football and sports, sometimes some politics. Probably won't do politics though. It's probably going to be a long shot if that ever comes up. But yeah, it's just more or less get what we want to talk about out there. Not about the views. It's about having fun and getting to talk about what we want to talk about. So, hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the episode. Today we're going to talk about the Calgary Flames, what our expectations versus the reality of what happened was. In life, you always have expectations of what will come. In reality, can often be disappointing. We are witnessing that here today. So we're going to start off. We're going to talk about some of our expectations going into the season, the reality of what happened, how our expectations might have changed throughout the season. Talk about a little bit about the players and how we thought they did, and if they met our expectations. Try and give a letter grade for all the players, and then we'll just wrap it up quickly with what we think the Calgary Flames might do during the off season. So getting things started here, I guess we'll start with the expectations. And personally, I'm definitely not a pessimist, but I wouldn't say I'm like a full blown optimist. But I did feel like Calgary was probably the second best team in the North Division coming in. We showed up okay against Dallas. I mean, we went to 6 against the Western Conference champion, and it just, we didn't think they were going to be as good as they were, but they played a really good defensive system, and we couldn't get past it.
When we were looking at the Dallas Stars, going into the offseason after the Dallas Stars, obviously it was very disappointing. Everyone really was expecting us to make a bit of a bigger splash against Dallas, especially because I feel like we started off that series quite strong, but things just kind of fell apart after that. I was one of those people who, going into the offseason, had larger expectations for what moves we would make, and we didn't. It was not really much on the trade front. We kept the same core and everything. So I don't know about Yuki, but like for me going into this 2020-2021 season, I was really confident that management and coaching must have been very certain that 2019-2020 was just a bit of a misstep with Bill Peters getting fired and the season getting shortened. And then when we come into this last year, it seems like not much has changed. Not much has changed on the product on the ice. Not much has changed in the locker room. We need to see changes this offseason, I think.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the right direction. And yeah, I mean, I figured Calgary would return to that Bill Peters transition based offense, and we would see, Gaudreau and Tkachuk probably be point per game or above players. We would see Lindholm and Monahan, maybe not point per game, but they'd be up there. Backlund would get his typical 40 to 50 point pace over an 82 game season, which he did end up actually
Yeah,
hitting.
he's a consistent guy. Like he gets 40 to 50 points pretty much every season for the last like 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're getting with him. I figured Mangiapane would be around that as well, and then hopefully Dube could take a step up. I had no expectations that Lucic would score, and Lucic ended up actually scoring a fair amount, which was kind of funny. Um, Other than that, didn't have a lot of high hopes for a lot of the depth signings that we did. Was just kind of seeing maybe they'll play a good fourth line role, and as long as we're not getting scored on when they're on the ice, that's good enough for me, kind of right. Defensively, figured Tanev maybe better than Brody, maybe not better than Brody. It's kind of hard to say, and I think at the end of the season here, Still don't really know. Like Brody did a lot for Toronto that they're really happy with, and Tanev did a lot for us. And then I felt he was one of the top 15 defensemen in the league in all likelihood. Hanifin
I feel
took
like
a
that was a very fair move. Like, I think the Leafs are happy with Brody. Flames are happy with Tanev.
yeah,
It's an all-around win.
yeah, I think so too. Hanifin took a step up playing with Tanev initially, and then without him, he still looked pretty solid. Anderson, I figured he would become this team's leader. I figure on defense at least, and obviously that didn't happen. Giordano, you just kind of hope you get something good for the rest of his career here, and see where that ends up here. Valimaki, Kylington, I figured would start getting more ice time, and definitely one of them did. The other one probably off to Seattle or something, but again, we'll get into that. Expectations were high. I think that, and I think it's fair to say that they were high because we just had 2018, 2019 not too long ago, about 2 years ago, for counting, and I mean we ran into a Colorado Avalanche team that you now look at it and that team's really good. Like,
Monster team. That's a cup team just waiting to happen. They
yeah,
will win the cup with that lineup.
yeah, it's too good. And the thing too is that no one had seen them that year with Cale Makar. We saw them with Cale Makar, and Cale Makar gives us nightmares now. It is not
Probably the best
pretty.
player of the entire 2017 draft. Like,
Yeah,
easily. I'd say easily the best player of the 2017 draft.
I don't even know who you would pick to debate that. Like, who's second best?
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Patterson.
Yeah, yeah. I
And,
mean,
and when you compare, like, which would you rather have, Cale Makar or Elias Pettersson? 90% of people are going to take Cale Makar.
yeah. Like, and Pedersen's actually a good player, but like Cale Makar is arguably the best defenseman in the league. Pedersen's not arguably a top 10 forward in the league. Like, you can't argue he's a top 10
Yeah.
forward, I don't think. Um, maybe if he kept his 40% shooting percentage that he had in his rookie season, you could argue it, but, that's just not going to happen. Yeah, expectations high, reality disappointing. So we come into the season with Markstrom and all Tanev and the new additions and the same core that we had seen second best team in the league, more or less 2 years ago. Didn't happen 2019 2020. Obviously, we had good excuses, and this season starts off and we were playing okay, but it was more of what we had done originally against Dallas. And I mean, Dallas did force us a bit into it, but it started to look like we were a team that didn't get the puck. We would defend. We would eventually get possession of the puck, but we're all tired, so we're just going to dump it in. We're going to change. Okay, they have the puck, and they're going
Do
to
it
take it
over
into
again.
our end, and we're going to defend, and then we're going to get tired. We're going to dump it in, and it's just like, can we change this up somehow? Maybe keep possession of the puck. And under Sutter, I mean that's changed, but under Ward, I don't understand what he was trying to do. There is the argument for a dump and chase system, like the Islanders play a system where they don't focus on being a transition based offense, but they also will do it and quite effectively, especially with Matthew Barzal. But I would say offensively, we also have the talent to, you know, be a transition based. But the reason you do a dump and chase is,
Worked out great for us in the past.
yeah, it has worked out great. I have been a big advocate of that. But the thing with the dump and chase is that you don't have neutral zone turnovers, which does lower your expected goals against. So, in theory, it's better for your team defensively to dump it in because you're not going to give up as many goals. But oh my goodness, you just do not score goals. Like, holy, it is boring to watch. Like, and I grew up watching Daryl Sutter coach teams, so I kind of expected it when he came in as well that we would be kind of similar, a bit more physical and forechecking. And I think over the course of the season, I really just wanted, when we all knew Ward was getting fired, it was going to happen eventually. And I really was just hoping we would get someone like Gerard Gallant or someone who is willing to make us into that, rush-based team, kind of like Florida. We'll throw a defenseman up into the rush, and we'll attack that way. And we got Sutter, and I wasn't happy about that, but we have looked better at attacking the net with him. So I think next season we definitely stick with Sutter. Obviously, we're not moving Sutter. I don't know if we need that many big changes, but again, we'll get to
There's got to
that.
be a change for the core.
There's got to be something.
There's got to be something done. I mean, we can't possibly keep running the same core year after year, and just making some good UFA signings like Tanev, Markstrom, good signings. Uh, but it's not going to be enough if we're still relying on the same guys to produce, and the same guys continuously not produce at the level that is necessary to be a cup contending team. We're not going to go anywhere. We're just going to keep treading waters like this franchise has done for years.
Yeah, and a big issue too is cap space, right? Like we have Milan Lucic
Yeah,
taking $5 million cap space. We have the Troy Brower buyout, the Michael Stone buyouts. We haven't
it's coming
signed.
off this year though, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
I
thought
think
that buyout's ending this year.
I think one of them ends this year. I think one ends next year. I'm not sure which one. Maybe they both do. I don't have that up in front of me right now. But either way, I mean those did hamper us for the season, and it's one of those things you just think, man, if we just had 4 million extra cap space, 5 million extra cap space, that's Tyler Toffoli. That's your right winger. You're no longer putting Gaudreau with Brett Ritchie, who had the lowest carry-in percentage of any forward in the league, on a line with a player who is not a forechecker by any means. If you're putting Gaudreau out there as a forechecker, you're not going to win games. And I mean, yeah, sure, Brett Ritchie probably wasn't the one entering the zone a whole lot, dumping or carrying it in, but when he did, it was not what was suited for his line mates. And I mean, that's you could talk all day about Jeff Ward's line decisions. It was mind-boggling at best.
Really
Uh,
weird,
yeah.
really weird line changes with him.
What was
But
your favorite one? Your
what
favorite
with his lines?
your favorite Ward line?
Well, I mean, the one I can't be certain like if this was him or if this was Sutter, but the one that just sticks out to me for most of the year was putting Brett Ritchie on the top line with Monahan and Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Monahan was reportedly playing injured all year, so that's already a big problem. When you put Brett Ritchie, what? Because he scored like 2 goals in 3 games one time, and then that apparently earned him like 15 straight games on the top line. Like Gaudreau is a great player, but he's not like McDavid, who you can pair him up with anyone and he'll still find a way to score.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that was doing. And Brett Ritchie, you were telling me a stat before we started recording. Brett Ritchie had the lowest carry-in percentage of any forward in the league. Any forward.
Yeah. It's how do you justify that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and just
Were
what?
they just like great friends in the locker room or something? Like I don't know what the. I need to know. I need to know what they were thinking on that.
I don't understand. Like, do they not watch film? Like I know NFL, all they do is they'll come back and they'll watch the film of the games, or they'll pre-scout the other team and see their tendencies and how they like to attack certain things. Do hockey players, do coaches just not watch it? Do they just say, well, Gaudreau didn't put in any points. It's his fault. My favorite thing was we had that mid-season bit where it was Brett Ritchie on the first line, and then it's like, okay, what if we put Sam Bennett there, and we put him there for like a game, and he scores a goal or something, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't good enough. We'll take him off. Let's try Dube. Okay, well, Dube plays okay there. Okay, well, you know what? That was okay, but really, Brett Ritchie brings that physicality and that ability to not score goals. I think that's what we need there. Didn't Nordstrom and Simon also get time on that first line as well at the beginning of the
I
season?
think I think I think damn near everyone got a shot on the first line, and that to me just confirms that going into this year, on the topic of expectations, we still didn't know what we were doing with this top six right wing situation, which has been a problem since when did Hoodler get traded to Florida? 2015, 2016? It's been a problem ever since then. We still haven't solved it. Why are we signing these plugs and just keep like during the season scrambling and like mixing and matching who's playing on a pairing with these guys? Like, do we? is it a depth thing? Do they just want to have like depth through the center and the left wing and leave the right wing open? Like, what are we doing? There's right wingers out there. There's some that are pretty cheap. Might as well just get one.
I, I mean, you look at Tyler Toffoli this offseason, and you just look at the contract he signed, and you just think we couldn't have done that. We couldn't have figured out a way
Like,
to make that work.
yeah, like we could do that.
Yeah, like
For Toffoli, I think he was on pace for 35 or 36 goals in an 82 game season.
yeah, that sounds about right. And you think, what would you trade for Tyler Toffoli right now? Would you trade our first round pick for Tyler Toffoli?
This year, no, no, I don't think I would, honestly, to
Okay,
be honest with you.
second round pick.
Um, yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
I would do next year's first round pick,
yeah,
but I would want to keep this year's.
so let me ask you this then: should we not have just traded that second or theorized first round pick with Lucic to a bottom dwelling team to open up that cap space to have just signed to Foley in the first place? Could we not have just done that? It in hindsight, obviously, it also makes so much more sense. We didn't know he was gonna
Yeah,
put up this many goals, but now that you think about it, it's like, good lord, like, can we get a good right winger? And the reality of it is probably not. Like, you look at the UFAs this year, you got what, Kyle Palmieri and Mike Hoffman leading the charge on right wing,
yeah.
and I mean
And
Palmieri's
Kyle
decent.
Palmieri, he's a good player, but I'm just Hoffman. It was the same thing as last season. Hoffman and Palmieri, I just get like bad vibes when I think about signing these guys to contracts. 30-year-old UFAs. We've been burned by this too many times.
Yeah,
Troy Brower and James Neal. I'm like, I just feel like we're gonna sign that. And they're just gonna bottom out here. You know.
yeah, and so then you think maybe you start thinking trade. A lot of Calgary talk as well about trading Monahan away, which is tough because he does have that 10-team list.
10 team, no trade clause.
Well, then do you trade like a player like Tkachuk and picks for an Eichel or something? Still doesn't fix your right wing, but at that point you got Jack Eichel and Gaudreau on the line. That's pretty good. You got maybe Travis Konechny in Philadelphia is an option. There's been rumors of Kuznetsov wanting to be traded, but a lot of these are just
I
going to
think those
take.
are more than rumors. The Kuznetsov thing,
Yeah,
I think he's done with the
I think
Caps.
he
I think
is
he's
as well.
gone.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they probably would have at this point now wanted to do a trade Kuznetsov for Mantha instead of trading Vrana, but is what it is.
Hindsight 2020.
Yeah, 2021 now.
Yeah. Speaking of 2021, letter grades for each of the Flames players
yeah, let's
at
start.
the end of 2021. Let's start with the forwards.
Yeah, so Gaudreau, we'll just go by this list here of what you put together. So Johnny Gaudreau, he would have been on pace for 72 points in a full 82 game season. Last 16 games, he put up 22 points, playing with Lindholm and Tkachuk. After the breakup, things looked pretty good. Before the breakup, oh boy,
Yeah.
at beginning of the season too, actually he was scoring a lot of goals, but I think that was more just a matter of shooting percentage being unusually high, which we've seen from certain players, and then we had players like Taylor Hall who couldn't score for his life in Buffalo, and now he can on Boston, who's now into the second
Yeah.
round.
On the topic of Gaudreau for his results, I mean his scoring pace has been great, despite the fact that he's been playing with an injured Monahan and plugs on the right wing.
Yeah,
But another thing to keep in mind is that if you look at his Corsi and these goals versus expected goals, his position on those charts is always tied very closely to Monahan, which makes sense because they play on the same line. But it also to me indicates that his numbers can be brought down because he's playing with Monahan, who is clearly having a effectively a career worse,
yeah,
career low
and
this year,
that's what.
excluding his rookie year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I wanted to get to too. You look at 2018, 2019. He was, I believe, number one or number two in the league in zone entry carry and percentage, and then this year he's nowhere near the top.
Yeah.
And you just think we have this great player, and we refuse to play him the way he should be played. So I can't blame him for not putting up points at the beginning of the season because we're playing a system that he's not designed to play. and we're playing him with players that aren't able to keep up with him right now. It was kind of the issue with Crosby in Pittsburgh for the longest time. Who does he play with? Well, he got Kunitz for a while, and that worked out. And then who is that kid that they had a couple seasons ago who just broke out in the playoffs? I forget his name. Gunsel.
Gensel? Jake
Yeah,
Gensel? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You know, now at least, Gaudreau and Lindholm has always seemed to work. That 2018-2019 season, that worked. Now this season, it seems to be working. Just a center instead of wing. You know, I still give Gaudreau. I'm not going to give him an A because I don't think it's an A for him. But I think a B plus is probably fair for him. I would say that's more
That's
than fair.
that's right around where I was going to go. I was going to say A minus.
Yeah,
Um, I'm letting you know right now he's going to be the only, actually no, one of the very few Flames who will be in the A tier for me, and I'm giving him an A minus because uh, giving him any higher than that I think implies that there's not a whole lot of room for improvement. I think there definitely is. I think there's definitely holes to his game, but he's a guy who I think is really being held back by not being able to play with people on the same caliber that he is.
yeah. And there's the people who say, oh, he's soft. He won't work in the playoffs. So is Kane. So is the Sedins. You know,
Yeah.
the Sedins didn't win a cup, but I mean, they got pretty freaking close. So,
You have
uh,
to take those kinds of comments with a grain of salt because some people tend to romanticize the playoffs in terms of what is expected of players in terms of performance, both scoring wise and physical. And Gaudreau is not a physical player. Doesn't matter if it's playoffs or not.
yeah.
Gaudreau is not a physical player.
Well, and the confirmation bias too, when they see him move the puck non-optimal way to avoid a hit, it's like, oh, he sucks, he can't do anything, and then he'll come in and score, a goal and assist that game and help us win. And people will ignore that because he made a bad pass at one point because he didn't want to take a hit from a 6'6", 240-pound defenseman. It's like I can't blame
Yeah.
him for that. I don't want to either. I'm 6'4", 215. I don't want to take it. But yeah, I mean, pretty decent season for Gaudreau. I hope we don't move him. Moving on
Hopefully.
though, Elias Lindholm, he is going to get an A from me. I think
Yep.
he played his. Like, he was consistent all year long, put up points all year long, carried his line mates when he had to. Then he played with Gaudreau and Tkachuk on that line and still stayed consistently good. He's good on offense. He's good on defense. He plays the power play. He plays the penalty kill. I don't know what else you want from the guy. He's making almost nothing on this team too. Oh my goodness, this is a stealable player for us. Like this is,
Yeah.
he's great.
Definitely best contract on the team. Less than 5 million for a top line player, effective in any position. He's good defense, good offense, power plays, special teams, 200-foot game. He's a playmaker. He's a scorer. He can really do it all. He's not. I wouldn't define him as an elite player, but I think he is a definite triple A tier player. Let's put it that way. So I will give him the same as you, an
You cut out there again, but I'm gonna assume you said an A.
A. Yeah,
Yeah,
giving an A.
yeah, makes a lot of sense. So we'll move on. We'll complete that trio of a lineup here. Matthew Tkachuk had an interesting season. Looked not so great for a while, especially after the puck flip incident. The rumors of
Yeah,
the
there was some bad juju there.
yeah, some rumors of a locker room divide going on. He definitely did not meet expectations from me, so he can't be an A. But he still was third in points on the team. You know, I think to me it's a B, maybe a B minus. But still a great player. Rumors, that we might trade him and picks and stuff for Eichel exist. I don't know. I still like him. Took a step back this year, but we'll be in a Pacific Division that's pretty weak next year. I don't know if he gets moved, but I'll stick with a B.
Yeah, that's funny. I was actually gonna go with the exact same thing, a B. Didn't quite meet my expectations of what I wanted out of the guy this year, but was still on pace for 63 points in an 82 game season, which is still pretty solid production. This is the first year with Kachuk where I feel like the fan base has not been 100% on his side. Before this, there seemed to be a lot of talk that he's the future captain, heart and soul of the team, gives 150% every night. And I'm not necessarily saying those comments have disappeared, but it's the first year where people seem to be openly critical of him of certain things. I'm not sure how much of this is being caused by behind the scenes issues, and we will probably never know how much. But I think his scoring pace took a bit of a dip. His effectiveness was a bit muted from time to time. He would be a bit streaky, but overall, I think his ability is still there. I think this is just a bit of a down year for him. I'm going to go ahead and say B.
Yeah, that's pretty fair for him. And there are also the excuses of the COVID season. It's a weird one. So maybe all these guys who had bad seasons, it could just be, COVID stuff as well. We don't know. We'll find out probably never, maybe in a year. Who knows? We'll move on here. We'll go with Mikael
Michael
Backlund.
Backlund.
Yeah, just the model of consistency for Calgary. Good player, consistent season. He played with less optimal line mates this season, I found. Last season, it was the Tkachuk, Mangiapane Backlund line that was arguably just as good as the Gaudreau, Monahan, Lindholm line,
Yeah, very effective.
but just in a different way, obviously. And this season, played a lot more with Lucic, played a lot more with Dillon Dube and Josh Leivo and different players coming and going. So, you know what? Props to him for coming through and still being consistent with that. I didn't like his game as much as I did in the past. Again, line mates thing could be a lot of that. I saw Lucic give up the puck a lot in our own end, trying to pass it to Backlund and just putting it in his skates. And then, of course, McDavid will
Hmm.
grab that puck. Even if he's not playing against us, he'll still grab that puck and put it in our net. I don't know how he does it.
He'll run down from the stands, run down the hall, grab the puck.
More or less. But yeah, I'll give him a B plus. Not an A, but still, if he's our third line center, I'm really happy. If he's our second line center, I'm content.
Yeah,
So fits that role. His contract might be a little bit high for what he is now, but still a good player. I still like him, and probably one of our only good draft picks from years past before Treleving got on this team.
he's pretty much the only good draft pick we had out of there, who actually turned into like a core player. I was gonna go with just a flat B, quite similar to yours. Yeah, I thought that I didn't really see much from Backlund that made him stand out this year, but I think that's a good thing. He's really a shining example of consistency on a franchise whose legacy seems to be how horribly inconsistent the players are. He's a really excellent 2C. I think if he does get moved down to a 3C due to depth, uh, I think he's a bit overpaid to be a third line center, but as a 2C on that contract for what he brings to the team, I think is perfect. He's one of those guys who just seems to he can make it work with any line mate. Over his tenure, I think he and Giordano are the only two Flames players still here from the 2012 season. And over the years since he broke out in 2013, he's just a guy who has been able to take any line mate, any winger, and make them just work. There's never really been a season where I've said the Backlund line was garbage. So, not a whole lot this year that makes me think that he's improving, but he's also not going back anywhere. So, B.
Yeah, it's a fair grade there. We'll move on to I think everyone's favorite Calgary Flame now. I'm pretty sure this is just everyone wants to eat bread. Andre
The
Mangiapane.
Yeast Beast.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't see how you don't just automatically give him an A or even an A plus.
Yep.
16 of his 18 goals, I believe, were even strength. Plays on the second unit power play, which isn't exactly a model of offensive talent. Can't hold that against him. He can play the penalty kill. He's a monster in advanced stats. Probably the most underrated player on Calgary, and
100%.
yeah, arguably the best two-way forward in the division.
He's yeah, I give him an A plus. I think I was more impressed with Mangiapane than any other player this season. A plus.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna say an A. He would get an A plus if he was on his skates at least 90% of the game instead of just like 50. So
Yeah, it's kind of Bambi out there sometimes, isn't he?
yeah, he's got to work on that balance a little bit, but still, if he's that good playing on his knees half the time, you know what? Can't wait to see what he does when he can learn how to skate.
Yeah.
Sean Monahan. This is uh this is just a pure F from me. Like you could
Yeah, I'm
say
F.
the injury, but what they're saying is it was a hip injury that was only really the last 20 games of the season. So what the heck was going on in the first 30? I mean, what was
Yeah,
happening?
I don't understand. I don't understand. I will give it like you an F, but F with an asterisk, because I don't know the full. I don't know the full extent of the injury or what was going on there. He's a guy who's definitely had wrist injuries in the past, and wrist injuries to him is like a guitarist not having hands. Like if you don't have wrists as that kind of role in hockey, you can't really play. I've never expected anything more from Monahan through his entire career than to just be the guy who can sit in the slot, take a pass from the boards or behind the net, and he will score. That's all I've expected from him. And if he's not able to do that, then you get this kind of season where he is just this invisible mass of human matter floating around on skates. And I feel bad because he's just like a great guy and he's a great player, and it's great to have a centerman like that on the franchise. But if he's got to do better than this, if he's still injured at the start of next season, just don't play. Like this was not a good look for Monahan.
Yeah, this has been like 5 seasons now of playing through an injury, and
Yeah.
you're just shortening your career. I remember the comparisons that people are making when we had Gaudreau and Monahan. It's like, oh, it'll be the next Tays and Kane, right? And
Ugh.
oh boy, that didn't work out. Um,
Aged like milk.
Now to be fair, we also didn't have a coach like Joel Quenneville. Actually, we technically did for like a season plus 20 games, but then turns out he's a bit of a scumbag. So that was unfortunate. I don't know how much of a career he has left because of the injuries.
Yeah,
Because when I
that's why
watch
he
him,
needs the bounce back next year.
yeah, because when I watch him play, I notice a lot of bad tendencies. He'll glide himself into the defender instead of staying open. Um, Defenders know that he's also not that physical. If you just put a body on him, he's not going to be effective in the slot. It's yeah, I don't know what's left here, and I do want to trade him, but I don't know what we get for him. I mean, if we're not going to get anything good for him, what's the point in trading him? It's tough. It's a tough scenario. He'll be up for contract in what, 2 years? Is
2
it?
years.
Yeah,
Yep. 2 years.
and
And his contract's not bad. 2 years left at 6.3, like
so
not bad. Even even for his production this year, he's on pace for 16 goals, 30 assists. Like that's definitely a career worst for him, excluding rookie season. But even at that, 6.3 isn't terrible with that short of a term. But you're right, he's really tanked his value this last year, and that's why if we really need to upgrade the 1C, I feel like he's not going to be a part of that trade. I feel like we would have to look for a 1C through other assets we have. And if we can acquire one, we got to just dump Monahan to someone for picks and prospects and accept that we may be underpaid.
yeah, more or less. And in 2 years, if he's still on the team, most players are looking for a raise after their initial RFA deal. I don't think he is getting one if this is what's going to be continuing. I hope I'm
No.
wrong.
He needs to go back to that 30 goal pace for the next 2 seasons if he wants a raise.
Yeah. And even then, he's proven he doesn't carry his line at this point. So,
No, he is not a playmaker.
you know,
He
it
can't drive play.
yeah, it's like Patrick Laine. You know, he can put the puck in the net with a great shot. Does he do anything else? Just let me know when he does something
Mhm.
else, and I'll tell you he's actually worth something. And I
Yeah.
mean, a good shot's always nice, but that's more so like a power play specialist in that point. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but this season was not pretty. And I mean, he's pretty much the only star player, poor player that's going to get a failing grade from me. But he's not going to be the only failing grade,
Yeah.
obviously. We'll get there.
Nope.
Uh,
Dillon
Dil-
Dube. What do you think about Dillon Dube this year?
you know what? He didn't take the step I thought he would, but I also thought he would get more time in better positions. I figured, all right, we're trying Brett Ritchie, it's not working. Why don't we just put Dube there for like 10 games and just give him a shot? Didn't really happen. Um, I mean, we'll see. It's too bad about his injury. We won't be able to see him playing on Team Canada here. And, kind of hard player to really pick out here. You're just kind of hoping for growth more than he had. I think Sutter will definitely motivate him to want to grow more. I just hope it's not like a Sam Bennett thing where we try and motivate him to grow and then just keep putting him on a fourth line winger role. I say C for a letter grade.
Yeah, I was going to go with C plus. I agree with a lot of your assessments about him. I think he's right now he's definitely, I would say, like third line player. Um, his point per game in production was not a huge step up over last year. It was a bit of an increase, but when compared to someone else like Mangiapane, who like year over year since being on the team has just become considerably better and better. Dubé this year felt like he was a little bit better than last year. I do like his overall play. I think he's not the kind of guy who I see on the ice and I see him making a whole lot of mistakes. I just don't feel like he gets a lot of time with good players, which, as you said. So, yeah, I think C plus is probably where I would put Dubé. I would give him a bit above a passing grade.
Yeah, I mean he's seems like he's going to be a good player. Um,
Yep.
we just don't know yet. So I guess we'll just have to move on from that because very unknown player right now. Not unknown, Milan Lucic.
Hmm.
I have a very strong opinion about Milan Lucic, and it's not entirely positive. I don't think he's very good with the puck, which means that his effective role is like a bad Sean Monahan, and he
That's
just
saying something this
just
year.
yeah, he just gives up the puck a lot in our own end, and people love him because he'll go fight someone afterwards. It's just like, man, you know what? He actually did score a good amount of goals this year. I, I do like him as a person and all that. Um, you know, eh, compared to Neil, he's great. Compared to my expectations this year, he's great. He's just not a great player. I'll give him a C plus because he did beat my expectations, but he's also just not someone who I want to see on the team next year, if possible.
Yeah, I would give Lucic personally. I think I'd give him a D plus. The only positive I can see from Lucic is that his scoring has definitely picked up this year compared to last year and his final year on Edmonton. He can score goals. He's a decent offensive zone bottom six forward. He does still have that physicality and the energy side to him, but man, the guy just skates with concrete boots. And the biggest disaster of him is, like you said, in our own end. He is notorious for just getting in on the puck along the boards and making blind passes either up the boards or into the slot to try and get out of the zone. And it's just that has led to so many goals against.
Yeah,
It's just not good. It's just brain dead plays that are born out of like desperate hockey, and I don't want people playing desperate hockey on the Flames.
yeah. I remember showing you the recording I had of that one Calgary versus Edmonton game, and how we got scored on. And one of the goals was just Lucic. Puck comes onto his stick about 7, 8 feet from the net, just blindly backhands it towards the blue line, but there's no power on it. He doesn't generate power on his shots anymore. He can't do that. So it's basically just like a, a sliding puck. And McDavid's like, "Oh, hey, that's nice, thanks." And what happens? We get scored on about 3 seconds later, right? So much of that happens, and it's dumb hockey too. It's panicking hockey, which Calgary does a lot of. Like we oftentimes will do that same play. It's like, oh, puck comes to me and I'm near the net. I just need to get rid of this immediately. And it's just like take a
Yeah,
second, look around, see what you can do with it. Recognize what you have. I mean, if someone comes to take the puck from you, You got to be able to win a puck battle. But take that second, put your head up, look around, see what you can do. Lucic, concrete hands, concrete feet, concrete neck. Apparently, can't look around. I don't know. It's just not great. I guess we should talk about Sam Bennett.
Yep.
Because he
Sam Bennett next.
did play for the Flames. Didn't look great for us. Didn't really do anything. I am trying to record a Sam Bennett comparison video between Calgary and Florida and what the differences
Mm-hmm.
are. And the differences are pretty plain. I took a game against Tampa Bay from the regular season. I might try and record another one, but it's already a lot of work just to go through, a game for each team. Might end up doing that. I don't have access to things like Instat and what all the other analysts use, but you look at who he plays with in Florida, Jonathan
Yeah, what
Huberdeau.
line is he on?
So initially it was Jonathan Huberdeau and Anthony Duclair, but then Owen Tippett took Duclair's place, and Owen Tippett was I don't know if he was top 10, maybe he was 11th overall pick or something. Either way, I mean he's playing on a line with other top 15 picks more or less, just from different drafts. Even Anthony Duclair was another pretty high pick. Plays with good line mates, and Florida does what Calgary used to do in 2018, 2019. They throw that fourth, they put the fourth guy on the attack from the defense. They go up the ice. I think they were the leading team in rushes this year. Probably the most rush shots in the league. I can actually just pull this up real quick. Florida has the second highest carrying percentage. Calgary has the second last carrying percentage. Florida, I think, was number 1 in rush shots, and Calgary is third last in rush shots. Why do you think he's producing? People always thought, oh, he's a good grinder. He's good on the boards. Have you ever seen him win a puck battle? I haven't. I've been watching the footage. He has not ever won a puck battle on the boards. It doesn't happen. He'll hit the guy, but he doesn't win. He doesn't forecheck that well. It's weird. Everyone seems to have this opinion of him that he's really good at it, and it didn't really seem to happen. It's purely because he plays with good line mates and is on a rush focused offense. He's not a passer. He's a shooter, and he's pretty decent at bringing the puck up. He doesn't set up his teammates. He gets a high amount of scoring chances per 60, but he has a low amount of setups per 60, which means that and that was the same on Calgary and it was the same on Florida. Doesn't matter which team he played for. He will shoot the puck. He will generate scoring chances that way, but he is not going to pass it to a Monahan. He is more suited to be the Monahan of his line.
Yeah, I agree. Sam Bennett was a guy who, I mean, the argument is going to go on for a while of like, how much was Bennett just not very good here versus how much was he misused. Um, I I'm glad we traded him. I mean, I'm glad he's doing really well in Florida.
We got a good
Granted,
deal.
we did get a good deal at that. Getting him for 2 second-rounders, that's a good return for Bennett, seeing as like by all metrics he was going to be a 20 to 30 point guy. And granted, I still am not. I don't think he's going to turn out to be the hype of a fourth overall pick. I think he on the Panthers may turn out to be a solid .5 PPG Backlund kind of numbers, like 40 to 50 points. Um, but I would probably give his overall season with us, same as Lucic, D plus. Uh, just he continued to disappoint year over year. There's not really any way around it. The guy just didn't really produce very well here, and we'll just have to see as time goes on how he pans out.
Yeah, with us, obviously you can't give him a high grade, C minus D plus kind of thing. Now that I have watched how Florida plays and how Florida uses him, I mean, he plays on the power play, he plays in the first unit power play. He's a penalty killer. He's expected to bring the puck up the ice and does an actually good job of doing it. And it makes me realize we didn't use him right. Like, obviously, he could have done more.
Keep in mind though, his isn't his shooting percentage in Florida like super high?
It is higher. His points will go down. I still think he's a contributing member to the team, though. To Calgary, he didn't contribute, not until the playoffs, and
No.
so they use him better. I'm not saying like he's going to get an A plus for his time in Florida. I think in Florida he's a B minus kind of level player. Means he is the third wheel on his line, but he's good enough to fit in that role with those good players. I think if you put him as a center for Gaudreau and Tkachuk or something, obviously that's a downgrade from Lindholm, but I think that line would work. I think that you would be happy with how he produced in Calgary in that line. Didn't ever get that chance really. Um, there was years past he got a few chances, but he took a lot of dump penalties. He still takes a lot of dump penalties. He just got suspended that one
Suspended
game.
in that game.
Is what it is. So yeah, with us, I'll go with a D plus. I think he's
Yeah.
more than capable of being more than that. He just wasn't that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it just didn't pan out with us.
yeah, Derek Ryan.
So the only guy who could possibly give Mangiapane a run for his money and most underrated flame.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a guy I want back on our team next year. This is a guy who carries whoever is playing with him, unless he's playing with like Gaudreau and Kachuk or something. Like, I don't think he should be on that role. The guy's playing
He's a
with
bottom six wizard.
he's playing with Dominik Simon, Joakim Nordstrom, Josh Leivo, Brett Ritchie, Sam Bennett. Before Florida, Milan Lucic. He is playing with not great players, and he still has really good advanced stats. Obviously, the points
Yeah.
aren't there. That last game of the season, though, playing with Ritchie and Dube, that looked like a line. That was doing really well. Now again, it's
Yeah.
Vancouver in the last game of the season in a game they don't care about. Frankly, no one should. But if we can bring him back, great. This guy, the only negative this season was that he was injured for so long.
Yeah.
Um,
But it was noticeable. Like when he came back into the lineup and was playing the bottom six, immediately our depth forwards were activated
yeah,
on the scoreboard.
yeah, like he can carry the puck in. He controls the puck well, plays good possession game. He fits really well on a team like Carolina. Funny enough, that's where we got him from. If we can bring him back next year, excellent. This is a guy we need to re-sign. A plus.
Give him an A plus. I was gonna give him. I mean, I was still gonna give him a good score. I would probably go with a B plus, just
Yeah,
because overall, like very good advanced stats. Really activated the bottom six. I definitely would want to bring this guy back. Only two things is one, he was making a little over $3 million this year, which I feel is a bit overpaid for a bottom six forward, even an effective one like himself. I would want to bring him back in more of the 2 to 2.5 range. And also, his personal scoring was uh, not great. It was definitely down from previous years. But it's made up for the fact, I suppose, that he was really getting guys like Ritchie and Leivo on the board. So overall, still a good grade for me. I do think there is some ways to improve his position on the roster, but yeah, B plus.
yeah. I will say the A plus is in regards to the position he plays. I think as a fourth
Yeah.
line center, he is probably the best or the top three in the league at that position. That's why I give him an A plus. Obviously, yeah, he doesn't put up a lot of points and stuff. So if you're talking in overall, how good is he for the team? Yeah, he's like a B plus kind of guy. But
No, I'm referring to like how he's produced in past years. Like
yeah,
he was only on his personal scoring, he was only on pace for 4 goals this year,
yeah,
but 21 assists, which to me means like, okay, this guy is very capable at activating his line mates, even though this year himself I don't think was quite on par with what I would have expected him to produce.
yeah, fair.
Um, but that doesn't like he definitely made all of his line mates better, and that's where I think his value is. Like with him on the bottom six, we have depth guys who have been invisible for the entire year suddenly showing up and scoring goals.
Yeah. Well, now let's talk a bit about those depth guys. We'll start with apparently not a depth guy. Apparently a number one right winger in the league, Brett Ritchie.
Yeah, that's top liner Brett Ritchie to you.
Yeah, that is elite talent on pace for 20 points in an 82
Yeah.
game season. That's elite level talent. Again, 18% zone entry carrying percentage, lowest in the league. That's fine. We don't want to carry the puck in. We just want to dump it to their team and see what they do with it. you know, it's unfair to say that he should get an F because he's not the kind of player that should be in that role that he is. As a first line right winger, he gets an F, but he's not supposed to be there. He should be on the fourth line with Derek Ryan. Um, that's where he should be, and in that
Yeah,
role,
that's where he's effective.
you know, he's probably like a C level player in that role. But yeah, for the season, I think I'd just give him a D because just there wasn't anything there to write home about. Not a lot of positives. You know,
Yeah.
is what
I,
it is.
I I'd give him a C minus, personally. I think the only real good thing about his offense was that I think he had a pretty mean shot. He's one of the few guys in the bottom six who were actually on pace to crack double-digit goals. How much of that is down to Derek Ryan basically setting him up for everything? Uh, yeah, that's leads me to believe that Derek Ryan is probably mostly responsible for that success. But I think as far as depth signings go, he was all right. His scoring pace was pretty similar to what we've seen in past years. But I got to drop him down into low C just because those advanced stats were garbage. They were not good.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not spend too much time on these depth
Yeah.
guys. Josh Leivo, it's out for a while. Just didn't play a whole lot. When he did play, the other team didn't score a lot. Neither did we. That's his value.
Yeah,
He's
he
shut
he
down
was
winger.
there. He was there. He did some stuff. He would. I felt like I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but I feel like a lot of his goals came off of like the opponent would make a very bad turnover and he would just be in the right place at the right time to snatch it up and score a quick goal.
It
I don't know how
did.
many of those were actually like that, but I just have that in my memory for some reason.
I agree.
Uh, I think he's as far as depth forwards go, like he was signed for what 875 1 year, like C. I give him
Yeah.
a C. He was all right. He was fine.
Yes, he's pretty much. He was what he was. People might have wanted more from him, but he was out for so long, didn't get any good minutes. I don't think he deserves good minutes, but it's just one of those things. Just keep moving on here. Joakim Nordstrom, he wasn't Dominik Simon, so he'll get like a D minus, I guess. I don't like.
I was gonna give him the exact same thing. D minus.
There's not a lot to say here. Like, not all. He doesn't put any points up. He plays okay defense. There's nothing there. If he comes back as the 13th
He fills a
forward,
spot on the roster.
yeah. If he's back as the 13th forward, that's not too bad. If he's actually supposed to be playing on the team, you know, every game, that's not good. Let's not do that again. And then yeah, I think we just move on here. Dominik Simon,
Yeah.
F minus. I don't know.
Yeah, like can we just expel him?
Yeah.
It's
What do you
a
what do you say?
top line winger, Dominic Simone.
Yeah, there's nothing positive there. It's just
No.
it didn't work. Unfortunate. It doesn't have what it takes to be an NHLer.
When you talk to Flames fans next year, half of them are gonna forget he even played here.
I'll probably forget next year too. I remember most players that play on the Flames.
Yeah, it's like remember back when we had what was his name, Derek Setaguchi or something like that
Yeah,
in
Devin
2014.
Setaguchi. Yep.
We played 11. Devin Setaguchi, yeah, played 11 games, never scored a point, never heard from him again. Most people forget he even played for us.
Yeah, I remember him on the Sharks. That's why I remember him.
Yeah,
Decent player for them, but he was mostly just carried because he played with actual good players in San Jose. Back when they
yeah.
had good players.
Time for defense. It's all the
Yeah,
forwards done. Let's get into the defense. The defense is where I think there's that's where we're gonna get some mix-ups. I think
yeah. I mean,
in the off season.
the
There's got to be some
forwards.
changes here.
Well, also like the forwards too is like more or less it was what I expected from a lot of them. The defense was a lot of
Yep.
like interesting things that were going on. Mark Giordano, we'll start with, captain of the team, the leader of the team. Boy, a lot of people turned on him this year, and can't blame him. He's shin pad McGee out here. He takes so many bad shots from the point right into the defender's shin pads. It really annoys me.
Yeah.
Good heart and soul guy. He doesn't have elite talent. He's not elite puck handler, not an elite skater. He's an elite effort kind of guy. And that's at his age, starts to dwindle down, and we saw that this year. It was not the same. The start of the season, him and Anderson was just really bad, and then with Tanev, it looked better. But I just think that's Tanev bump. Tanev just so good at that. From what I wanted from him and from what we got, I'll go with a C minus. I did not think he had a good season. It wasn't that bad at the end of the season, but it's just not there anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I would give him a C plus personally for this year. I think he's definitely like age has caught up to him. He's 37. He's going to be 38 next year. Um, it does hurt me a little bit to see that this guy who has really taken over the mantle of captain so well right after Iginla left and gave this team an identity. And above all else, gave this team a number one, 4 or 5 years or so of having an elite number one defenseman at a pretty cheap rate compared to what number one defensemen go for. And now that he's kind of slowing down, to see a lot of Flames fans kind of just start shitting on the guy is kind of rough for to see. We all knew when this 6 year contract was signed that we are getting a discount now for an overpayment later. He signed a 6 year deal when he was like 32 or 33 or something like that. Uh, and for only 6.75, getting 4 of those 6 years of having a number one defenseman, that's worth it to have 2 years of overpaying a guy who shouldn't be on the top pairing, and as far as I'm concerned. Uh, there's a lot of questions I think about what's going to happen to him next year. His cap space is now an anchor for that last year, but it's also not disastrous. I do like that he managed to keep his scoring pace, with the exception of his Norris caliber season. His scoring pace of around 0.5 PPG is pretty standard for him, floating somewhere around the high 30s to low 50s. Um, I don't think he should be on top pair next year. He's slowed down a lot. He his shot is kind of just wild now. He still has the power, but just not the accuracy. I'm not sure what we're going to see with Gio come next year, but I feel like C plus is the best place for him. Still our highest scoring defenseman, still the most goals, real minute muncher despite his age. But there's definitely this was the year where I looked at him and said, time to get a new top pairing. Even though he did pick it up a little bit in the end of the season, we clearly are. He's not a guy who we can keep on the top pairing for those minutes next year.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much all that. You did say his Norris Trophy winning season, or his no, you said his Norris Trophy caliber season. Really, he had two of those. He just got injured 60 games into one of them. I really do
Yeah,
think
you're right. There's
yeah.
yeah,
And when you think about
that
it,
that's really sucks when like the he's a guy who doesn't get to be in the playoffs all that much, and then the one year where we got to the second round, he ended up getting injured against the Islanders, and that was another year where he probably could have won the Norris or at least been a finalist.
yeah, I think he probably would have been the favorite at the 60 game mark, and then he gets injured. And you think, if he won a second Norris Trophy, is he a Hall of Famer? He
Yeah,
no postseason success, but two Norris trophies. That's really hard to do. You can argue it at that point. Like right now, obviously he's not a Hall of Famer, but
no,
that second Norris trophy, you can start making that argument there. But yeah, there's no more Norris trophies in his future here. We're not going to get the second one out of nowhere. I don't think.
no.
Maybe he goes to Seattle. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, Yeah, that's pretty much it for him.
Future
Maybe,
is cloudy for Geo.
yeah, maybe he'll be on the second or third pairing, but yeah, he shouldn't be the top guy. The guy I thought would be the top guy this season was Rasmus Andersson, and boy was he not the top guy. Oh boy was he not. And I always really liked Anderson because I felt like he was one of the few defensemen that we had that really competed well with McDavid. Battled him well, stick checked him well. Um, I felt like in years past he was part of the reason we had games where we shut McDavid down, and of course Backlund line just you know playing against McDavid too would do that a lot, but it wasn't his year. I don't know what happened this year. it didn't look great. Part of me wants to trade him now just because it looked that bad. Um, I think you could get good value for him, especially with a team desperate for defense like Philadelphia. And hey, maybe you figure out your right wing situation with a Konechny there. But I'll go with a D. Just I think years past he was probably a B plus kind of guy, in this season, you look at his wins above replacement, awful, awful year for him, and hopefully it's an outlier. That's pretty much all I can say about it.
I would give him a probably C minus. Like you said, he came. I think he came out of the gates hot this year. I mean, like first 5 or 6 games, I think he was like a point per game player. Like he was just killing it at the beginning of the season, and all of that dried up real fast around the 14 or 15 game mark. I think he just kind of disappeared. It's difficult for me to say. Like I'm really not on board with shopping him. If there's a trade to be made, then fine. He's not untouchable. But the fact that we just signed him to a decently long-term deal, about 4 million a year, to me indicates that management is very confident that he will turn into a top four guy. And I'm trying to hope that this year is an outlier for him because it was a positional change. He went to the top pairing and he was playing on the top pairing with Mark Giordano, who probably not the greatest pairing partner on the Flames at this point. Uh, I think his scoring was just really dried up around the uh, middle of the season. His advanced stats are awful, horrible advanced stats this year. I would really want to give him one more shot to see if this year was an outlier, and hopefully it is. Because I do think in the past seasons he's looked great. I think he's looked great in the past seasons. This is the first one I thought it was a real stinker. But can't deny the fact that this season was not very good. I will give him a C minus.
Yeah, pretty fair there. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm fine if we don't trade him. It's just a thought that came into my head because I really feel like we have the next three guys on this list, Hanifin, Tanev, Valimaki, as really like the top three defensemen on this team now. Not that Valimaki took that step to fully this year, but I think that does happen soon. But yeah, so I guess we'll keep moving on here. We'll go to Noah Hanifin, who was paired up on the second line with Tanev, or the second pairing with Tanev, for considerable amount of the season, and then at the end, playing more with Anderson. And I didn't have high hopes for him. To me, he was always, he'll put some points up, he'll help generate some offense. Not really a great defender. This season, it felt like those giveaways that he had in years past really dried up. Like he wasn't giving up the puck as much. Uh, was useful all around the ice. Good advanced stats. Did play with Tana for a lot, which does boost the defense. But even without him, it did look like a step up for him this year all around. Um, I don't want to say an A because he wasn't like, you know, an elite defenseman, but he was a very good defenseman. So I'll give him a B plus, considering what I thought he was going to do this season. I think he was probably our second best defenseman on the team this year. So it's probably what I would give him, B plus.
Yeah, I'm giving the exact same B plus. I think putting him and Tanev on a pairing together was just dynamite. Probably saved us in a lot of situations this season. They were hands down our best defensive pairing. The only thing from Hanifin that I would like to see pick up at some point is just his offense. I think it was a little stale. He really picked it up in the later side of the season. He does have a mean shot, but that started to come off the back of us finally getting a bit more transition play. Earlier in the year with the dump and chase, him and Tanev weren't getting really anything done except for Tanev's field goal that he got from center ice on Hellebuck. But Hanifin, when he started getting up in the rush, he started scoring more goals. He started showing up on the scoreboard more. And if he can continue that, both from his personal play and from the team's strategy on offense, I think he could easily be top pairing quality. Um, yeah. So B plus.
You look who's a good puck moving defenseman on our team. All right, we got Hanifin. Anderson's pretty good at it. Valimaki's good at it. Kylington, if he ever got a chance to play, is good at it. And just like, but yet we continue to dump and chase and not let our defensemen carry the puck up. And I think it was 2018-19 when we had it was either we were top 4 in carry-ins by defense. I forget exactly where we were. I think we might have been number 1. And then of course this season, I think we were 29th. It's just like, the same players are still here more or less. Like, what are we doing? It just didn't make any sense to me. Yeah, Hanifin's a guy who should be jumping up into the rush. One thing I really like about him that he does do more than most of our defensemen is he will creep down from the point into the soft spot in the defense where they're not expecting him. He takes his shots. He picks his shots really well from the point. Something that he should teach Giordano at some point in the remainder of Giordano's career would be nice. He doesn't just shoot at shin pads. He waits for the opening, sees if there's a screen. I really liked his game this year. I could even call it an A- kind of season. But let's just stick with B+ for now. Chris Tanev. I mean, this guy is elite at what he does. He's not exactly an offensive monster, but defensively, is there someone
monster.
better in the league at defending than Chris Tanev? There's arguments for it, but I think by wins above replacement, Chris Tanev was a top 10 defenseman in the league this year. I don't know how you don't give him an A+ for what he contributed to the team. Would I still have liked to have Brody as well? Yeah. Couldn't really do both with our cap situation, unfortunately. Fit in well. Yeah, I just think I could talk about it all day, but yeah, he was just really good at what he does. He's an A+ defender. You would like to see some offense, so maybe you call it an A or something, but yeah, great player.
Yeah, I was gonna give it just a flat A. I think he's definitely the best Flames defenseman this year. The only reason I'm not giving an A+ is because while I know historically he's not much of an offensive defenseman, I would like to see him contribute a little more on the scoreboard. Pacing for only 18 points this year, which I know is pretty much in pace with where he's been in the past. I just feel like this would be an opportunity for him to just maybe be a little bit bigger on the scoreboard, but that's really just a minor gripe in compared to what he brings to the team. He's a absolute minute muncher, amazing guy to have on the penalty kill, uh, stats monster, like advanced stats. Really can't ask much more for a guy on that kind of contract. So, A.
Yeah. And I will put in an article in the description. It was by Jay Fresh, and it did cover the league and how people used their defense in the NHL, and it's where I got the stat for Hanifin and the stats for Giordano shooting pucks at people's legs all the time. But Tanev really fit what this team wanted to be, what the management and the coaching tried to make this team. He fit really well into that. Unlike our other defensemen who don't fit in as well with that, I feel like they should be jumping up a bit more and not just being stay-at-home guys. But Tanev is the perfect stay-at-home guy, so he fit in really well. Juuso Valimaki.
Juuso Valimaki.
Yeah, I
This is
mean,
an interesting one.
he is definitely a very hyped up player for us. And, you know, he was good at times, he was bad at times. He looked like a rookie, kind of. I'll give him a B- on this one. I thought he was good at what he was asked to do. He had some bad turnovers, some misplays. I just think with more time, more experience, he's still a super young player. Had some injuries in the past. People don't just recover from leg injuries as a hockey player that quickly. It takes time. So you will probably be a lot better next year, I think. I think that's a lot of it too. I'm just gonna go with the B-. I don't have any strong opinions about him either way. I thought he was good.
Yeah, my feelings on Valimaki are very similar to my feelings on Dube. I think there was some noticeable improvement from the last time we saw him, but the main thing you have to take in consideration here is that, well, one, from points production, the guy was getting really bottom pairing for most of the year. Not very often you're going to see guys in the bottom pairing with limited minutes putting up a lot of points, and he still scored at the same pace as Chris Tanev. Um, he also missed an entire season due to injury, and when that happens during your developing years as a player, can be really, really difficult. And I'm really just hoping that the guy can still develop into the player we all want him to be. Um, he did look pretty good this year. He had some gaffes, some blunders, but like you said, he's a rookie. And even though he played 24 games 2 seasons ago, missing an entire season, he's basically a rookie. Like that's what this was. And I do really hope he pans out. I just feel like right now he's a bit of a wild card because there's not enough history with him, and with that massive injury, it's tough to say where he's going to go. So when I think about what I wanted from this year, this is pretty much as good as I could expect. So flat B.
You know what? I'm going to throw in a wild card here. I'm just going to say Oliver Shillington because he's also kind of a younger player, and I just wanted to get him in here because he's not on the list that we have here yet. Um, only played, 8 games. Didn't really get a chance to
8 games.
shine.
Yeah.
Looked really good out there on offense. Looked not so great there on defense. I assume he doesn't want to be here anymore. I assume he wants to go somewhere else. I'm not gonna give him a grade. I just wanted to mention him. I would like to see him out there more than I saw Nikita Nesterov. But I also understand that the coaching and the management of this team wanted more defensive prowess. That's why Michael Stone and Nikita Nesterov were in the lineup more than he was. I mean, he was even on waivers at the start of the year, and no one claimed him. You know, what's to say?
Yeah.
It's
I do think Flames fans overvalue Shillington, not because I necessarily think Shillington is bad, but he doesn't play. And when he does play, he plays barely any minutes on the third pairing. Same thing as last year. Played what 48 games last year, and I think every single one of them he was on the third pairing. I wouldn't blame him if he wants to leave. I just don't feel like he's being given much of a chance here. Um, I feel like he really needed to just get some time with in a top four role, second pairing, just to see what he can really do.
you know,
But it is what it is. Too small of a sample size this year to give a rating, but I hope we see him back next year. But I'm bracing that he is probably gone.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's Seattle's pick and he just turns into the next Shea Theodore or something, and it's like, wow, we never saw this coming. It's like, really, you didn't play him. How could you see anything? But I could also
No way
see,
to prevent this. Says only team that this regularly happens to.
yeah, I don't understand half of our prospect development. Well, I mean, you know what? We're better than Edmonton at least with that. Um,
Yeah, we're better. At least the Flames. At least we get like we don't have very many high end prospects. We very rarely get S tier prospects. Last one was probably like Tkachuk,
yeah,
and before that it was probably Gaudreau.
yeah,
At least when we get prospects, like we turn them into guys like Mangiapane, like Phillips and Brushica look pretty good. But then you have Edmonton who just get like the league basically showing up at their front door, dumping first overalls and top 10 picks into their lap, and they still can't get it together.
yeah. It's like what, 4 firsts, a third, a sixth or something, all in like a 6-year time span. It's like, what else do you need?
Yeah, from 2009 they were 10th in 2009, then first, third overall, or no, seventh overall in 2013, third overall 2014, first overall 2015, fourth overall 2016. Like it goes on and
Jeez.
on.
Wow. So yeah, 4 first, a third, a fourth, and a seventh. Oh my goodness. Like,
Yeah, eight straight drafts of picking. Eight straight drafts of picking in the top 10.
yeah, that's insane. And I think our last S tier prospect, people considered Valimaki at times to be that. You know, he's probably more like an A plus. Tkachuk was an S tier prospect. Gaudreau, I mean, he was picked in the 4th round, so I don't even know if you can really even call him that. Monahan was never.
He turned into one over time.
Yeah, I
But
mean, Monahan was never supposed to be S tier. He was just supposed to be an NHL ready center, which is what we wanted.
yeah,
Sam Bennett was considered like an maybe a low S tier, but like you look at the rest of the team, we got Hanifin from trade, we got Lindholm from trade. Backlund was never supposed to be that. Yeah, Tanev was signed.
of course we we finally land an S tier defensive prospect, or at least developed into one, with Adam Fox. Refuses to fucking sign with anyone but New York.
Yeah.
Like, how does New York just have everyone want to play for them?
It's New York, man. You go there, and it's just it's probably so much fun to play there. And
Probably.
if you're a player in a big market, it's just kind of like, oh man, that's that guy. And even if it's New York, who doesn't probably care about hockey that much, like New York is better than like Arizona and Carolina. Don't get me wrong, but people
You get
recognize
the
you,
lifestyle.
right? You're out there
Yeah.
buying nice suits, nice cars, nice penthouse suites or whatever you're doing. Although I'm pretty sure most of the players don't actually play or don't actually live that like in the New York area. I think they're more like New Jersey. I'm pretty sure. Um, Not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing. But I don't know. I don't know much
Yeah.
about America. So yeah, I guess we'll just move on. Michael Stone. Didn't expect him to play at all. Was not expecting him to come
I
into the
kind of
lineup.
forgot he was on the team.
Yeah, I mean, after the previous stints of the team, it's just like, okay, well, kind of glad you're not on the team anymore. And then it's like, oh yeah, you are on the team, and you're also scoring and putting up points because you have an incredible shot. Compared to expectations, he's an A plus. What he actually was probably like C plus B minus for what he was doing. Weird that he even came in the lineup, but he played pretty well. So yeah, I'll stick with C plus.
Yeah. I was going to give him a B. Um, Based on because my expectations were that he wasn't even going to play, and that if he does, he's going to be in a 7D role and not really do much. But honestly, I was pretty impressed with him from the time that he played. I thought he had a pretty nice shot. He was putting up points at a pretty solid rate um, for a guy costing, I think, 700 grand. Uh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
didn't blow me away. Like he's not like I'm not rushing out to get sign him to a new contract, but yeah, it was a nice little surprise. So I'll give him a B.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. And he was one of those guys on the Heat that we had that good win streak going, and we had a good amount of talent there, and then we eventually just called up pretty much everybody. And I think at the end of the Heat season, it was just Phillips and a bunch of other guys I've barely heard of. it was
Yep.
it was not a lot of talent left there. Um, and Stone was looking good at the Heat, looked good with us. Good job, buddy. Nikita Nesterov is an annoying one to try and give a rating to. Because he did better than I thought he would do, but he also was put in a lot of positions that I don't think he deserved, and he didn't look good in. Trying to quarterback the power play number two and bring the puck up the ice and trying to be the zone entry guy a couple times was weird. It was weird. Why is Nikita Nesterov the guy trying to bring the puck up the ice while four guys sit at the blue line waiting for something to happen? Now, I mean that's
Yeah.
also just because our power play zone entries are garbage. Just awful, awful. It's we got the theory for the first unit, which is Gaudreau brings it up, and he's so good it doesn't matter, and everyone just sits at the blue line waiting for him to do something. And then we try and do the same thing with the second unit, and we have absolutely no one good enough to bring the puck up. So apparently we have to use Nikita Nesterov, who just gives the puck away and we give up 2-1-0s. Just, I don't know what that was all about, but I'm gonna go with a C minus. I don't know. I didn't hate him. I didn't think he was that good. He wasn't a failing grade kind of player, but he should be at best a seventh defenseman.
Yeah, I'm actually. It's funny. I was going to go with the exact same rating, C minus. Now this is definitely one of the situations where we have to test expectations based on what they were brought in to do, and was not going to do anything else other than be the bottom pairing guy. But I'm a little annoyed with his utilization, especially when we had Valimaki constantly having to play on a line with them, and we have Kylington, who even when he was here was not being allowed to be on that power play unit, even though I don't think you'll find anyone who thinks that Nesterov is a better offensive D than Kylington. So, and I'm not sure how much of that I can put on Nesterov and how much of that has to be on coaching and decision making with these lines. But I was a little disappointed with what he brought. Not massively, but I wish he was a bit more noticeable during these games. So I'll give him C minus. Barely passing.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say we should comment on goaltenders, but we really only had
Hmm.
two, um, which was obviously Markstrom and Rittich. And of course, with Rittich being on Toronto, I don't know if we really need to give him a grade. He was fine. He was, a good
He
backup.
didn't play a whole
Kind of
lot.
kind of inconsistent. I'll just say a C. He was okay. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna give.
C.
Yeah. Markstrom though was incredibly inconsistent because he was so good at the start of the year that we were winning games, and then he got injured, and then when he came back, he wasn't good. And then kind of that moment clicked in, and just like, oh, I need to start playing good again. And then he started playing good again, and it's just like if we could just get that for the whole season, he probably is, in conversation for the Vesna. But as it stands, obviously not. It'll be interesting to see next year. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. We're not moving him. I mean, there's a couple good goalies that are UFAs this year that we could sign, but what's the point? We have Markstrom. Um, I'll give him you know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because of the injury. I'll give him a B minus, but he definitely was below league average in save percentage. So it feels weird to do that, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because of the injury. Realistically, he was like a C, but I'll give him a B minus for his efforts this year. And I think just having that number one goalie going forward is nice because we're not thinking, okay, we're going in with Rittich and Talbot or Smith and Rittich, and it's just like
Yeah.
I don't want that anymore. I want the guy. I want my Kippersoff.
Yeah. I was gonna give him a bit better. I was gonna give him a B plus. I like if I think of what I was expecting from him to come in and what I was wanting from him, I wanted someone who could be a reliable one goaltender, starting goaltender, whatever. And I think he met that. A lot of the problems that I feel he was dealing with this season, I mean, besides the injury, but like just in general with his stats, were a product of the team in front of him not being well composed. Um, I feel like we really gave up way too many high danger chances because even though his save percentage is not great, his goals against average is still pretty on par with what he's gotten throughout his career, which to me indicates that we gave up way too many high danger scoring chances for him with breakaways, odd man rushes, and not having poor D zone coverage. That we're leaving him in a position where he wasn't really able to make a lot of saves. Um, there's no doubt that coming from Vancouver and going to Calgary, the defensive core is um, less talented. There's a very different system that we were playing than what Vancouver was playing last year. And so I too am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I do think that he's better than the 905 or 906 save percentage he finished with. I think that's going to be an outlier for his career. And I think we can get him back to being more along his stat lines that we were seeing in Vancouver next year. So B plus.
Yeah, and I agree with that. If we were to just chop up the parts of the season, like beginning of the season, I think he was just stopping everything at that point. Like he was basically the only player that looked like he was putting in effort, so you give him an A plus. Then after the injury, a lot of low danger shots are going in, and it just doesn't look like the same. Probably give him a C minus for that. And then the end of the year, his high danger save percentage is pretty low compared to other years that we've had. But his save percentage as a whole was pretty good. So you give him an A for the end. Yeah, that's why I go B minus, just kind of in the middle there. But B range is pretty accurate, I'd say. It wasn't, which again feels weird because it was a league below average save percentage. But I don't know what else we can ask when we played such bad hockey for so long this season. It's yeah,
You mentioned we also just ran him into the ground. Like the guy started like 80% of our games.
yeah.
I mean, he was just like towards the end of the season. After Ritchie was gone, he played every single game, every one of them.
No, Louis Domingue played one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know.
-1.
I just big difference. I know. Yes. Hey, what do we get Louis Dominguez a grade? I played one game. um,
Honestly, if you hadn't mentioned that, I would have forgot he even played for the Flames. I thought he was down in the Heat the whole year.
yeah, I think he played the second last game against Vancouver. I'm pretty sure. It was one of the back-to-backs that Domingue played. I just don't remember what one, but I also just don't really care because at that point in the season, it was over. I don't need to see what Louis Domingue can bring to the team. I don't need to see that. I'd like to see what a guy like Parsons might be able to get, but I think he might be kind of donezo at this point. I'd like to see what Dustin Wolf can bring, and especially as a shorter guy. But who knows? This was supposed to be a 30-minute episode. We're now at an hour and a half almost of this recording. There'll be some cuts, but it's getting
We
pretty
have
long here.
a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about. I think just to finish things up here, should we rate the coaches and the GMs as well? You want to do that quick?
I think, well, coaches, I don't think it really matters all that much because they both only played half a season. And the GM, I feel like it's better to give them a rating at the beginning of the season when all the moves have been made.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're just gonna do quick rankings. Ward F, Sutter B, Treleving B minus D plus. Probably about right. I don't know. You agree with those?
Yeah, yeah, I think we had a really good trade deadline. Bennett for
Yeah.
2 seconds was a great job.
Yeah. Getting rid of Rittich. I love the guy, but he was probably gone anyways. Um, and then the
Yeah,
offseason
we
moves.
stocked up on picks.
Yeah, the offseason moves were good except for the depth forwards, which just never turned out and didn't get the first line right winger. That's why I say C plus B minus because good trade deadline, good offseason, top end moves. The depth moves just weren't there. The right winger wasn't there. So yeah, he was okay. Yeah, going forward, I'd like to see him around. I know that's a little hot topic. I still think like we haven't had any GM that could draft in so long. We finally have one who's good at drafting players. Let's keep him. That's like
Yeah, like our drafting since Trey has taken over has been so good. I mean, despite the fact that we haven't really had all that many high-end first rounders, we've still had good players built through the draft. Mangiapane, if he continues to build next year on his success this year, we have a top line left wing from a sixth round pick.
yeah, like our RFA moves have been really good. The RFA signings have been really good. The UFA signings this year they were pretty good for the guys Tanev and Markstrom. I think Leivo's even a good one too. Then some bad ones, but hey, at least we didn't get a James Neal, Troy Brower again. At least
Yeah, no more of that.
at least we learned that lesson. Hopefully this off season we can get someone. Probably ends up being a vet. But hopefully we're not signing them to another 5-year, $5 million deal. Kyle Palmieri on a
Oh,
1-year, 2-year deal. Great, take it, perfect, good enough.
a
But
signing, a signing from last offseason that's looked really good that we got to touch on. Connor Mackey.
oh yeah, yeah, he's looked pretty solid.
He's looked excellent in Stockton and then looked great with the Flames, goal and 2 assists in 6 games.
Yeah, had that fight as well. I didn't know he was that much of a fighter, to be honest. I don't think he is that much of a fighter. I think he wanted to impress the team, and yeah, he definitely impressed. I'm happy. Actually, we were talking. I was mostly talking about the maybe another good defenseman. Connor Mackey could be that defenseman. Yeah, that could be the guy who kind of comes in and solidifies himself as a maybe top four. Probably ends up as the bottom pairing to start next year, maybe. But yeah, he looked good. It's a good call.
I mean, that would be hilarious if right after Gio, who was an undrafted, like one of the best undrafted defensemen ever, he retires. Then we get Connor Mackey come in, who's also an undrafted defenseman. Flames
Future
just don't want to draft Wendy's.
future captain right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna wrap us up here. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a long episode. I think we covered everything really well.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap it up here because I don't think anyone's gonna want to watch longer than this. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. What we're gonna end up doing, we're going to release this episode. I'm gonna hopefully put up a Sam Bennett video soonish. It's it's a lot of work. A lot less work than just sitting here and talking to my buddy about hockey. And hopefully we'll get that one up soon. I think we'll try and record in person after this, and we'll see how that goes. And hopefully that'll be the new norm. It would be nice to also just have faces to the voices as well. We'll see what we can do there. Um, not going to be a consistent upload schedule here, but I'm going to start trying to put more of an emphasis on getting this done. And we were trying to get this done a while ago. Didn't happen. Just some audio recording failure, and now it's ready to go. Thank you if you stuck around. That's awesome. I don't imagine that a lot of you did, but thank you so much, and we will have another episode out soon. And goodbye.
Later, guys.